The ground of Cairo 3 was quiet, too quiet. The war was over. Invaders had been defeated, drones destroyed, Zorak hunters captured. And yet, the people didn't feel safe, because they all knew one thing now. They weren't a forgotten colony anymore. They were a message, a signal to the galaxy that Earth's weakest didn't die easy, that even in the farthest corner, even without armies or fleets, humans fight, and someone somewhere was going to take that personally inside. The old bunker, Lena Marks, sat in silence. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Weeks had passed since they captured the Zorak hunters. Earth's science team had come, taken samples, studied the alien tech, and left with warnings. Still no one came again, but Lena could feel something. Something worse than before. Something building. Devin walked in. He looked different now. Older, harder, a leader. "They're coming," he said. Lena didn't ask who. She just nodded. Yes, they were coming. Far across the stars, in a deep red system, a council of alien empires gathered. It's not warriors, not pirates, not raiders. Governments, leaders of species that had ruled sectors for centuries, they spoke of peace, power, and order. And all of them had heard the same rumor. The weakest human colony repelled the Dravik. They outsmarted the Zorak. They turned a backwater into a fortress. Some laughed. Others didn't, but one thing was certain: if even Earth's weakest could not be broken, then humanity itself might be far more dangerous than they ever believed. So a plan was made, not war. Something bigger, A galactic suppression fleet. Not to destroy Kira 3, but to erase it completely, to wipe every trace of it, as if the colony never existed. Quiet. Fast. Final. 20 ships were launched. Cloaked. Advanced. No warning. No mercy. Back on Cairo 3, Lena felt it before she saw it. The sky didn't flicker. This time, it screamed. A burning red line tore across the sky. One of the ships entering atmosphere. No stealth. No subtlety. They didn't care if the humans saw. They thought they had already won. But Cairo 3 was ready. In the last weeks, every child had learned drills. Every elder had been trained on shelter systems. The colony wasn't just repaired, it had been reborn. Tunnels under every building, traps buried in every path, hidden missiles behind rocks. Camouflaged in dirt and snow, Rika Sol had left them defense satellite-sold tech. But powerful when aimed right, the first alien ship hovered over the fields, smooth, black, like a silent.
Oh.
Then it dropped a single word in all known languages: surrender. Lena stood on the old Combs platform and clicked her. Mike, her voice was calm. No. From the mountains, a missile launched. It hit the ship's side, exploding in fire. It didn't destroy it, but it proved one thing. Cairo 3 would fight again. The ship opened fire. Lasers burned the earth. Trees exploded. A barn was wiped out. But the colonists were not there. They were under the land now, moving through tunnels, setting off traps, scrambling jammers, disabling guidance systems. It wasn't a battle, it was a hunt, and the humans were the predators this time. One by one, more ships arrived. 20 ships turned into 15, then 10. By the end of the third day, only 5 remained. The rest were wrecks scattered across forests, fields, and hills. Smoke painted the sky. Devin's team took out 2 more using explosives buried inside a fake power station. The aliens realized too late every part of the colony was a weapon now. But then the real threat came. A supercarrier. The flagship of the fleet. 10 times the size of the Dravik ships. It didn't land. It didn't ask. It just charged its planet splitter cannon. Lena watched the sky turn dark. This is it, she said. Devin looked at her. We don't have enough firepower to stop that. Lena didn't answer. She walked into the bunker and unlocked the last box. Rika Sol had left one gift behind, a small, strange orb. With a warning, only use if the planet itself is at risk. Lena held the orb in her hand. It pulsed softly. She pressed the center. For 1 second, everything went silent. Then the sky opened. From deep space, an Earth War beacon activated. It had been hidden on the moon nearby, left during the Drovik War. It had sent one signal to Earth. Cairo 3 is under full planetary siege. Back on Earth, the response was instant. The Human Defense Armada, still under development, launched its newest prototype, Titan-class warship Atlas, a machine of destruction. No crew. Full AI, quantum speed, destination, Kairo-3, time to arrival. 17 minutes, in the colony, people waited, sheltered, praying the supercarrier charged its cannon inside it. Alien commanders gave orders with cold silence. Cairo 3 was seconds away from being erased. But then the sky bent, like paper folding, and the Atlas arrived, massive, glowing, alive with power. It didn't speak, it roared. Blue light burst from its core. It shot through the supercarrier's weapon ports, ripping through shields like they were made of paper, in less than 1 minute. The supercarrier was gone. Only a falling storm of metal remained. The other alien ships tried to run. They never got the chance. The Atlas hunted them one by one by the time it stopped firing. The sky was clean, and Cairo 3 still stood. The people came out of shelters, quiet, crying, not because of fear, but because they were still alive. Lena looked up at the Atlas, now hovering like a guardian star. "Why us?" Devin asked. Lena smiled weakly. "Because the galaxy thought we were weak, so they tested us. And we showed them what humans do when we're pushed too far." Devin nodded. They both knew what this meant. Kairo-3 was no longer a colony. It was a battlefield that would be remembered forever. A story passed in whispers. The place where humans were supposed to break, but instead became unbreakable. Far across the stars, the Council of Alien Empires received the report. Fleet destroyed. Colony untouched. They didn't speak. They just deleted Cairo 3's name from their database. Not out of ignorance. Out of fear. Because some places, you just don't go. Not anymore. And Cairo 3 was now one of them. A graveyard of invaders. A monument of survival. And the message had been carved into every ruined ship: don't test Earth. Even its weakest can destroy you. Darkness floated in space. Cold, endless, and silent. Among the stars, a small object moved slowly. It was old, covered in scratches from years of drifting through space. The object was a probe. Once, long ago, it had been launched from a distant alien world. Now, it was near Earth. Inside the probe, a message kept repeating. It was in a strange language, but the meaning was clear. The message said, "We offer peace. Come with no weapons. Let us meet." But no one on Earth heard it. Yet, the probe was still hours away from being picked up by Earth's sensors. And by the time they found it, it would already be too late. On Earth, everything looked normal. People worked in their cities. Children played in parks, and news channels talked about local politics and trade. But in the space colonies, something had gone wrong. 3 outposts near Jupiter had gone silent. No calls, no reports, no signs of life. Colonel Rhea sat inside the Earth Defense Command. Her face was tight with worry. She looked at the screens showing the last footage from one of the missing colonies. The video was short, blurry, but terrifying. Lights flickered, sirens screamed, and then sudden black. Total silence. She turned to her team. Still nothing. "From Callisto Station?" The officer shook his head. "All 3 colonies are dark. No transmissions, no life signs. Sabotage." Rhea asked. "Maybe, but it's too clean. No explosions, no debris. It's like they were just erased." Rhea narrowed her eyes. Something didn't feel right. Humans had enemies. Many in the galaxy didn't like Earth's growing power. But this wasn't an attack like before. This was surgical, quiet, hidden, far above Earth. Deep space sensors beeped. A small signal had entered the solar system. The probe was finally close enough. An AI caught it and started analyzing the message. Within seconds, the system translated it. "We offer peace. We come with no weapons. Let us meet." Ria's screen lit up. She leaned forward, reading the translation. Peace. Now, after their colonies had gone missing. Her blood ran cold. She sent the message to Central Command and called an emergency session with Earth's leaders in the capital city. President Holden stared at the words. He didn't smile. He didn't relax. He only asked one question. Why now? No one had an answer. The alien message came from the Zorak Coalition, a powerful empire from across the stars. For years they had watched Earth's rise with cold silence. They never attacked, never helped, just watched. But now suddenly, they sent a peace message. Holden looked around the war room. "This smells like a trap," he said. General Voss nodded. "We've had no contact with the Zorak before. Not a single word. And now, just days after 3 colonies vanish, they send peace? They're covering something," Rhea said. "They want to distract us." Holden turned to the science advisor. "Could the probe have been delayed?" "Yes, sir. The message was sent 5 years ago, based on the data in its core. It's been drifting through space slowly. No FTL. It was never meant to arrive fast." Holden frowned. "So the message is old. They asked for peace years ago, before the colonies went silent." Everyone fell quiet. If that was true, then someone didn't want the message to reach Earth. What if this probe was blocked on purpose? Rhea asked. Blocked how? Diverted. Delayed. Maybe by someone who wanted us to believe the Zorak are our enemies now. A dark idea formed in the room. What if the Zorak were not the enemy? What if someone else was trying to start a war? But before anyone could dig deeper, the room's alarm screamed. A new report flashed on dash screen. Another colony Titan base was gone. No signal. No survivors. This time, yes. Earth got one last message from them. Just 2 seconds of audio before the line died. We let them in. That was it. Rhea's hands clenched into fists. We let who in? Titan base had strict entry protocols. Nothing got in without clearance. Unless someone inside allowed it. A traitor or a shape-shifting enemy? The room spun with questions. Everyone talked at once. Holden raised a hand. Enough. Until we know more, we assume this is war. But we respond with caution. No attacks. No threats. We'll prepare a scouting team, quiet, small. Send them to Titan. Find out what happened. Rhea nodded, but deep inside, she feared the truth. This wasn't a simple invasion. Something was watching. Earth. Something clever. And it was already inside the fence the next day. Rhea's team launched toward Titan. Their ship, the Silent Echo, moved without broadcasting signals. They reached the moon in 5 hours. What they found was wrong. The colony was there. The buildings stood tall. No signs of battle. No broken walls. No fire. But no people. No bodies. Just silence. Rhea and her Marines stepped through empty halls. Plates of food sat on tables. Lights were on. Doors opened and closed. But not a single human remained. One soldier whispered. They vanished. Rhea moved to the main command center. The computers were still working. She pulled the logs. Last entry. 3 days ago. Final words. Ambassador arrived. Meeting began. Ambassador? From who? She checked the ID. Zorak Coalition. Her heart pounded. She played the video file. A tall alien walked into the room. Long arms, glowing eyes, a soft voice. We come to talk, not to fight. Humans stood and welcomed it. Then, The video jalacted. And stopped. No end. No escape. Something had cut the record mid-meeting. Rhea ordered a sweep of the colony. Her team found strange signs. Thin marks on walls, like claws. Faint burns in the airlock doors. And one more thing. A human helmet lying on the ground. Inside, it was blood. But the DNA? Not human. It looked human, but the scanners said otherwise. A mimic, an imitation. Something had come to look like a human, and they fooled the entire colony. Rhea grabbed her cum. Emergency code. Get us off this rock now. As the ship flew back toward Earth, Rhea sent her full report. Holden read it in silence. The Zorak claimed peace. But what came with them was not peace. It was a mask. And behind the mask, something hunted. He stood in front of the World Council. "We are not being invited into peace," he said. "We are being tested, tricked, probed. They want to see how blind we are." Some leaders wanted to respond with weapons, others with silence. But Holden said one thing only: prepare everything. Defense, offense, spycraft, drones. If they want to play games, we'll end the game. Meanwhile, the probe that brought the first message drifted into Earth's orbit. Its engine shut down. The beacon inside stopped. It's flashing. The message ended. All that remained was the silence it left behind. But across the stars, another probe launched. Not from Earth, from somewhere else. Its goal was simple: to watch, to wait, to see how the humans would. Because the game had only just begun, and the hunters were no longer hiding. They were walking among the humans, wearing their faces, speaking their words, and Earth had only days left before the mask came off. Deep in space, Earth had sent its answer. 7 warships. Not to attack, not yet, but to guard. They were the Peace Fleet. Fast, it's quiet. Armed but under strict orders not to fire unless attacked first. They moved like shadows across the stars, heading toward Saturn, toward the Zorak envoy ship that Ambassador Kale had visited days earlier. But now, the Orchid Star was gone. No word from Kale, no sign of the diplomat, only silence. President. Holden sat in the war room with Colonel Rhea and General Voss. The screen in front of them showed the last message from Kale. Just one short warning. Burned. Into the system. Not peace. War. The message was clear, but no proof remained. No footage. No data files. Just static. So the Peace Fleet was sent not to attack, but to find answers. Their lead ship, the ISS Halberd, moved first. Captain Myra Dane was in command. She had seen many wars in her time, but something about this mission made her uneasy. Before leaving, she told her second in command, "If we don't report back in 72 hours, Earth will know what to do." Fleet reached the last known coordinates of the Zorak envoy ship, but it was gone, vanished, no wreckage, no trace, only an echo in space. Then came the strange static. Every ship picked it up low, almost like whispering. It wasn't radio, it wasn't heat, it was something else, something alive. The ISS Halberd sent a small drone forward. The drone vanished after crossing the asteroid belt near Saturn. No explosion, no signal drop. Just ... Gone. Myra frowned. Something's jamming us. She ordered a second drone, then a third. Both disappeared. Then, the fleet's long-range communication went dark. Myra stood up. "Get me a deep scan. I want eyes on every rock out here." But the radar lit up too late. From the shadow of a nearby asteroid, dozens of heat signatures appeared, but they weren't ships. They were structures hidden Zorak towers, disguised as rocks, and from those towers, light flickered. Weapons beams of blue fire struck silently across the stars. The ISS Halberd was hit first. Its rear engines were destroyed. Fires broke out. Power dropped. Crew screamed over the comms. Mira shouted, "Evasive maneuvers! Get us out!" Then her screen turned to static. One by one, the other 6 ships were targeted. The ISS Argent tried to fire back, but its targeting systems failed. Something inside the Zorak weaponry jammed Earth's best AI. Their computers couldn't lock on. The ISS Nova turned sharply, dodging 2 blasts, but its own weapons exploded from inside. The Zorak had hacked their systems. Captain Mira, burned and bleeding, crawled to the emergency relay. She slammed a code into the console. Simple, old-school message. No tech, no encryption. Just 3 words blasted through a direct quantum line to Earth. Code read, ambush. Then the line cut forever. The Peace Fleet was gone. Back on Earth. Alarms screamed. Colonel Rhea read the message out loud. Code read, ambush. President Holden's face was hard. All 7 ships? Gone, sir? Said Rhea. No survivors, no data. They just... vanished. Holden stood still for a moment. Then, he said, begin the emergency response protocol. The Zorak have declared war. They just didn't use words. He looked at the world leaders seated across from him. They wanted us to send our ships. They wanted to study us, learn our tactics. And now they know how to blind us before striking. Scientist entered the room holding a datapad. We recovered something strange, sir. Single frame from Captain Mira's last signal. We think it was a reflection of the enemy's weapon. He handed the pad to Rhea. She looked closely. Weapon wasn't built by the Zor. It was human design. Holden narrowed his eyes. What are you saying? I don't think the Zorak are acting alone, the scientist said. Someone gave them access to our technology, or someone from Earth is helping them. The room fell silent, then Holden whispered a traitor. General Voss slammed his hand on the table. How? Why? Rhea spoke slowly. Someone wanted the Peace Fleet to die. Someone wanted Earth to feel weak, frayed, exposed. Holden looked up at the ceiling as if searching for answers in the sky. Then they'll get what they asked for. Far above Earth, in orbit, the Titan-class warship Leviathan was warming up its engines. It had not flown in 10 years. It was built to end battles, not start them. A ship so dangerous the galaxy had begged Earth never to use it. But now, Earth had no choice. In a quiet chamber deep inside the Defense Council, the code was entered. 3 keys, 1 decision. Activate the Leviathan as it powered up. The Zorak sent a new message. This time it wasn't peaceful. It was short. You're kind. Learn slowly. You should have accepted silence. Now you will meet extinction. Holden read the message and laughed. Extinction? He said. Then let's show them what extinction looks like when humans fight back. At the edge of the solar system, Earth's backup fleet, the Black Division, was already preparing. No lights, no signals, just shadows, waiting for one order. Hunt. And the galaxy was about to learn humans might come late, but they come ready, and they never forget who struck first. Mars had always been proud. The first human world beyond Earth. Red, dry, and hard, but full of life under the surface. Cities built deep below the dust, protected by thick domes and strong shields. The largest colony, New Ares, held more than 500,000 people. Scientists, miners, families, and soldiers all lived together in peace until the day it went silent. No warning, no emergency signal, just silence. One moment. They were part of the Earth-net. The next, nothing. President Holden stood at the center of Earth Command, staring at a blank screen where Mars signal used to be. Around him, officers worked quickly, trying to re-establish contact. Rhea arrived. Holding a tablet, she said only 2 words. 1-word message. Holden frowned. What word? Rhea handed over the device. On it was a small audio file, just a second long, a whisper. A frightened voice. Inside. That was it. One final message before silence. Holden's jaw tightened. Inside, what? Rhea shook her head. We don't know. The signal came from deep inside the military zone beneath New Ares. Level 10. Level 10 was the most secure. Part of Mars base. Not even civilians knew what was built there. Only top-ranking Earth defense officials had access. Holden took a breath. Send a Black Ops team. No broadcasts. No noise. No warning. If Mars has fallen, I want to know how. It's 12 hours later. Stealth shuttle left Earth. Its name was Ghost Arrow. Inside were 6 people, all shadows, All ghosts. Their mission: enter Mars, find survivors, and discover what caused the silence. When Ghost Arrow reached orbit, they saw the city still standing. Lights flickered across the dome. Power systems looked active. From above, everything seemed normal. But no one answered their hails. Not a single response. Commander Juno, leader of the Black Ops team, stared through the viewport. It looks alive, but it feels dead. They landed quietly on the edge of the colony and made their way in. The streets were empty. No movement, no bodies, no blood, just absence. Shops were open. Food sat untouched. Vehicles still hovered in parking slots. But there were no people. One soldier whispered, "Where is everyone?" They moved deeper into the colony. That's when they saw the first message. Painted on a wall in blood, "We let them in." Commander Juno froze. Her second in command, Dre, scanned the blood. Human. Fresh. Less than a day old.
That didn't
make sense? The colony had gone silent 3 days ago. Someone had been here after the blackout, or someone had stayed behind. They reached the military zone. The entrance to level 10, the doors were sealed with high security codes. But Juno had something better: manual override tools. It took 20 minutes to get inside. What they found underneath shocked them. The lower levels were torn apart. Walls melted. Floors cracked. Strange black marks, like acid burns, covered every surface. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. But there were signs of life. Scratch marks. Blood trails. Bullet holes. People had fought here and lost. They followed the trail down a long hallway. At the end was a control room inside. A single man sat in a chair. His eyes were open, but he didn't move. Juno raised her weapon. "Identify yourself." Man didn't speak. She stepped closer. His mouth moved, but it was wrong. Stretched, twisted. Then he turned. They saw the truth. It wasn't a man. It was a shell. Human skin stretched over something alien. The creature smiled. "So slow," it said in a strange, broken voice. "So easy to copy." Dre fired. The shell collapsed, leaking black liquid onto the floor. Then the lights went red. Screams echoed through the hall. Doors slammed shut behind them. They were trapped from the vents above. Shapes crawled out, humanoid figures, but too fast, too thin, too sharp. Juno shouted, "Defensive circle." But they were outnumbered. One soldier was pulled into the dark, vanishing without a sound. Another screamed as a mimic clawed. Through his armor, Juno threw an EMP grenade. The blast knocked out every light. Everything went dark. When the emergency lights came on, the creatures were gone. So were 3 of her team. Only Juno, Dre, and 1 medic remained. They ran back through the broken halls, back through the painted walls, and as they fled, they saw it again, written now on the ceiling in blood. It started. Here, they reached the surface, barely breathing, and that's when they saw something far worse. Across the dome, Earth flags were gone. In their place were strange symbols, black triangles, twisting lines, the Zorax mark. Juno activated the emergency beacon and sent 1 line to Earth. Mars was betrayed. From within, they launched the Ghost Arrow and escaped into orbit. Back on Earth, President Holden received the message. He stared at the words. Rhea whispered, "It started here." Someone on Mars let them in. Holden said nothing for a long time. Then finally he looked up. "Prepare Earth's defenses. If they were inside Mars, they may already be here." And he was right, because at that very moment, inside a high-tech lab in New Geneva, scientists stood alone, typing, monitoring, and smiling, because he wasn't human anymore. He wore the skin, but his eyes were black, and beneath his coat, the Zorax symbol glowed faintly. The betrayal had begun long ago, and now, the war was only just waking up. The dead body on the table wasn't human. It looked like one. Same size, same shape, same uniform. But the blood was black, and the skin was cold, and too perfect like it had been made. not born. Dr. Lyra Cade stood over the corpse, her hands shaking. The thing had been pulled from the wreckage of Mars base. Juno's team brought it back during their escape. Earth Defense ordered a full examination. But Lyra was no soldier. She was a xenobiologist. Her job was to study alien life, not fight it. Still, she had seen strange things before. This was something else. She leaned closer and whispered to herself, "What are you?" She cut into the chest. There were no bones, just layers of muscle wrapped around something hard metal. Maybe she touched it. The body twitched. Lyra jumped back, heart racing. The body didn't move again. She looked at the sensors. No heartbeat, no brainwaves, no life signs. Dead. She continued the scan. What she found made her stomach twist. Inside the head were two brains. One was shaped like a human's. The other, smaller, sharper, was wired into the spine. Tiny filaments ran through the nerves like a network. The thing had copied a human perfectly. Even its voice box was designed to sound real. But the second brain, it was not human. It was something else. Something that controlled the first. A parasite, a machine, or something in between. Lyra recorded the data and sent it to command. At Earth Defense Headquarters, Colonel Rhea watched the footage. Her voice was tight. They're not just mimics. They're layered, complex. General Voss stared at the screen. They're soldiers. President Holden stood in silence. They're spies, he said. And worse, they learn. That same night, another report came in. An outpost on Europa had gone dark. The scout team sent to investigate returned in pieces. Literally, the footage was damaged. But one thing was clear. The enemy didn't fight with guns or ships. It became the people. One survivor, a young lieutenant named Harris, was pulled out barely alive. He was covered in blood, not his own, and shaking. In the hospital, told Lyra what happened. "They look like us," he said in a cracked voice. "Same faces, same voices. They even cried. They even begged." Lyra frowned. Begged. "They were pretending," he whispered. "One of them took my captain's form. Said it was trapped, hurt. I helped it stand. Then it smiled and tore my squad apart." He looked straight into Lyra's eyes. "They learn." Lyra returned to the lab. She reviewed the mimic's brain scans again. She saw it this time. Tiny data fragments. Memories. The thing didn't just look like a human. It remembered what the human knew. Names, codes, orders. That's why Mars fell. That's how the Peace Fleet was wiped out. The enemy didn't invade. It walked in, through the front door. With the correct passcodes, wearing a friendly face. The next day, Earth Defense announced a new protocol. Facial ID and voice recognition were no longer safe. Every soldier and official would be scanned for deep neural patterns daily. Even then, Rhea wasn't satisfied. She met with Holden. "We need a real test," she said. "Something only real humans can do." Holden nodded. "Pain," he said. "Fear, memory. Things they can't copy completely." Rhea frowned. Or can they? In a cold underground lab far from the public, Lyra was ordered to test something darker. They brought in a captured mimic Dash alive. It was locked in a cage of pure plasma. It looked like a woman young.com wearing a Navy uniform. She stared at Lyra with human eyes and then spoke. "You don't have to be afraid. I just want to go home." Lyra didn't speak. She turned on the neural scanner. The mimic reacted, twitched in pain. But then something terrifying happened. It began to adjust. The readings stabilized. It was learning to block pain. Lyra whispered, "It's adapting." Then, the mimic changed its face, its hair, its voice. It became Lyra. "Why are you doing this?" it asked in her exact voice. "I'm not your enemy," Lyra froze. It smiled. "You see? I can be anyone. How long before I am you?" She slammed the emergency shutoff and left the room. She contacted Holden immediately. "We can't keep them," she said. "We can't study them. Every second they're alive, they grow smarter. They copy better. They become us." Holden agreed. "Destroy the specimen now." but it was already too late. That night, the lab went dark. Security footage later showed the mimic escaping. It broke its own bones, reshaped, self-crawled through a vent no bigger than a child's arm. When they found the body of the guard, was missing its face. The mimic had taken a new shape and disappeared. Lyra stood before Rhea and Holden the next morning. There may be hundreds of them, she said. Maybe thousands? Rhea asked. How do we kill them? Lyra gave one answer. We stop being predictable. She laid out a plan. Change patrols every day. Change access codes every hour. No AI-only systems. Full human verification. With emotion, tests for memory. Fear response. Childhood questions. Deep personal recall. Anything they couldn't copy. It wouldn't be perfect, but it was something Holden gave the order. Across Earth and its colonies. New protocols went live, but the enemy was already ahead. In a dark hangar on the moon, a copy of General Voss stood in silence. He watched as a squad of elite human soldiers saluted him. They believed he was the real one. He smiled and whispered, "Begin Phase 2. Because now, the war wasn't about ships or weapons. It was about identity, and the question hanging in every soldier's mind. It's the one no one wanted to ask. Is the person next to me even human anymore?" The dead body on the table wasn't human. It looked like one. Same size, same shape, same uniform. But the blood was black, and the skin was cold, and too perfect like it had been made. Not born. Dr. Lyra Cade stood over the corpse, her hands shaking. The thing had been pulled from the wreckage of Mars base. Juno's team brought it back during their escape. Earth Defense ordered a full examination. But Lyra was no soldier. She was a xenobiologist. Her job was to study alien life, not fight it. Still, she had seen strange things before. This was something else. She leaned closer and whispered to herself, "What are you?" She cut into the chest. There were no bones, just layers of muscle wrapped around something hard metal. Maybe she touched it. The body twitched. Lyra jumped back, heart racing. The body didn't move again. She looked at the sensors. No heartbeat, no brainwaves, no life signs. Dead. She continued the scan. What she found made her stomach twist. Inside the head were two brains. One was shaped like a human's. The other, smaller, sharper, was wired into the spine. Tiny filaments ran through the nerves like a network. The thing had copied a human perfectly. Even its voice box was designed to sound real. But the second brain, it was not human. It was something else. Something that controlled the first. A parasite, a machine, or something in between. Lyra recorded the data and sent it to command. At Earth Defense Headquarters, Colonel Rhea watched the footage. Her voice was tight. They're not just mimics. They're layered, complex. General Voss stared at the screen. They're soldiers. President Holden stood in silence. They're spies, he said. And worse, they learn. That same night, another report came in. An outpost on Europa had gone dark. The scout team sent to investigate returned in pieces. Literally, the footage was damaged. But one thing was clear. The enemy didn't fight with guns or ships. It became the people. One survivor, a young lieutenant named Harris, was pulled out barely alive. He was covered in blood, not his own, and shaking. In the hospital, told Lyra what happened. "They look like us," he said in a cracked voice. "Same faces, same voices. They even cried. They even begged." Lyra frowned. Begged. "They were pretending," he whispered. "One of them took my captain's form. Said it was trapped, hurt. I helped it stand. Then it smiled and tore my squad apart." He looked straight into Lyra's eyes. "They learn." Lyra returned to the lab. She reviewed the mimic's brain scans again. She saw it this time. Tiny data fragments. Memories. The thing didn't just look like a human. It remembered what the human knew. Names, codes, orders. That's why Mars fell. That's how the Peace Fleet was wiped out. The enemy didn't invade. It walked in, through the front door. With the correct passcodes, wearing a friendly face. The next day, Earth Defense announced a new protocol. Facial ID and voice recognition were no longer safe. Every soldier and official would be scanned for deep neural patterns daily. Even then, Rhea wasn't satisfied. She met with Holden. "We need a real test," she said. "Something only real humans can do." Holden nodded. "Pain," he said. "Fear, memory, things they can't copy completely." Rhea frowned. Or can they? In a cold underground lab far from the public, Lyra was ordered to test something darker. They brought in a captured mimic Dash alive. It was locked in a cage of pure plasma. It looked like a woman young.com wearing a Navy uniform. She stared at Lyra with human eyes and then spoke. "You don't have to be afraid. I just want to go home." Lyra didn't speak. She turned on the neural scanner. The mimic reacted, twitched in pain. But then something terrifying happened. It began to adjust. The readings stabilized. It was learning to block pain. Lyra whispered, "It's adapting." Then, the mimic changed its face, its hair, its voice. It became Lyra. "Why are you doing this?" it asked in her exact voice. "I'm not your enemy," Lyra froze. It smiled. "You see? I can be anyone. How long before I am you?" She slammed the emergency shutoff and left the room. She contacted Holden immediately. "We can't keep them," she said. "We can't study them. Every second they're alive, they grow smarter. They copy better. They become us." Holden agreed. "Destroy the specimen now." But it was already too late. That night, the lab went dark. Security footage later showed the mimic escaping. It broke its own bones, reshaped, self-crawled through a vent no bigger than a child's arm. When they found the body of the guard, was missing its face. The mimic had taken a new shape and disappeared. Lyra stood before Rhea and Holden the next morning. "There may be hundreds of them," she said. "Maybe thousands?" Rhea asked. "How do we kill them?" Lyra gave one answer. "We stop being predictable." She laid out a plan. Change patrols every day. Change access codes every hour. No AI-only systems. Full human verification. With emotion, tests for memory. Fear response. Childhood questions. Deep personal recall. Anything they couldn't copy. It wouldn't be perfect, but it was something. Holden gave the order. Across Earth and its colonies. New protocols went live, but the enemy was already ahead. In a dark hangar on the moon, a copy of General Voss stood in silence. He watched as a squad of elite human soldiers saluted him. They believed he was the real one. He smiled and whispered, "Begin phase 2. Because now, the war wasn't about ships or weapons. It was about identity, and the question hanging in every soldier's mind. It's the one no one wanted to ask. Is the person next to me even human anymore? Nobody noticed her at first. The new engineer had soft eyes, short brown hair, and a calm voice. Her ID badge scanned green. Her security pass matched, her biometrics cleared, but her shadow still didn't move right. She was assigned to Earth's Orbital Defense Platform Station, Warden 1-2, a small outpost. Only 20 people on board. Everyone knew each other, except her. They said her name was Arlen Grace. But that was a lie. She wasn't Arlen. Arlen Grace had died 2 weeks ago. In a mimic attack on Europa base. This creature had taken her face, her memories, her voice, but it didn't know her soul. At first, it behaved just like Arlen would have. Polite, focused, quiet. It watched. It listened. It smiled. But every night, it whispered into the vents. Strange sounds, clicks, signals, and the station's systems began to change. Tiny power. Drops air filters, stuttering. Cameras little like Sing. Except Elis Varn. The maintenance chief? He was old, paranoid, half-deaf, but he had one habit no one knew about. He watched the shadows. One evening, he saw Arlen walk past a corridor camera. The lights flickered behind her, but her shadow stayed still. Didn't move. Didn't stretch, just stood like it was watching him. Elis didn't say anything, not right away. Instead, set a trap, a simple one. He changed the oxygen filters in sector to where Arlen worked. Then he waited. If she were human, she wouldn't feel the difference. But mimics were sensitive to air changes. They hated dry oxygen. It irritated their skin. That night, Arlen left her workstation early. Her skin looked slightly cracked. Her hands shimmered for half a second when she passed under UV light. Elis saw it. He knew. She was one of them. But if he made a move too soon, she'd kill him. So he stayed quiet. He started logging everything, watching her hours, tracking her movements. And then he found something terrifying. Every time she entered the reactor room, cameras went dead for exactly 33 seconds. Not 32. Not 34, always 33. Inside those 33 seconds, she was doing something. Uploading. Contacting, changing the code? Couldn't prove it, but he had no doubt. She was preparing something. He contacted Earth Command through an encrypted backup line. But the signal didn't get through because she was already jamming it. She had learned his pattern. She was watching him now. That night, she came to him, knocked on the door, smiling. Double quotes. "Hey, Elis," she said sweetly. "We haven't talked much lately." "What?" "I wanted to check on the system logs you've been working on." He didn't open the door. Just stared at the feed from his security cam. Her voice was calm, but her eyes didn't blink. And when she moved her hand, it passed through the edge of her coat like fog. He pressed a silent alarm. No response. The station had been cut. He knew what came next. She would wait, wear him down, until he made a mistake. Elis recorded a final message. "If you're seeing this, it means I failed. The mimics can now pass every test. ID, voice, even memory checks. They're learning faster than we are. One of them is on this station." He paused. "She's inside our system, inside us." Elis didn't make it to the escape pod. They found his body days later, wrapped in wires, his eyes open, staring at the power cord. Earth Command finally received his message. Too late. The station had already been repurposed from a defense post into a signal amplifier. Now it was broadcasting into deep space, calling something or someone back on Earth. Lyra stared at the decoded signal. She turned pale. "It's a call sign," she said. "Not for help, for invasion." President Holden stood behind her, fists clenched. "How many are coming?" Lyra shook her head. "I don't know, but it's not one ship." She looked up. "It's a fleet." Colonel Rhea entered the room holding a tablet. "They're already responding." On the screen, star charts lit up, points across the galaxy systems going dark. Vanishing signals. They were waiting for the call, Rhea whispered. Holden didn't speak. He just stared out the window, where Earth's moon glowed quietly. "What do we do?" Lyra asked. Holden turned slowly. "We send them a message." Rhea raised an eyebrow. "What kind?" he replied. "The kind only humans can send." Across every major Earth facility, a new protocol went active. Protocol Iron Pulse. Every station, every ship, every base. Scans, blood checks. Real-time DNA verification? Mimics could fake the rest. But not blood. It broke them. They screamed when exposed to iron. That's where the name came from. Across the world, humans began drawing blood from their fingertips and marking their hands. A red mark on the skin meant, "I am real," and those who refused? Shot on sight. It was brutal. It was terrifying. But it worked. Hundreds of mimics were exposed and destroyed. Even more ran. But some stayed quiet, still hiding, still planning, and deep in the blackness of space. Something awoke. Something older than Earth. A mimic. A queen. But not the one they had killed. This one was angry because humanity had done something no other race had done. They'd seen the trap, they'd struck back, and worse, they'd survived. The stars were no longer quiet. They blinked in warning now. Every signal, every missing satellite, every silent outpost meant one thing. The Mimic fleet had arrived, and they were not hiding anymore. They came like a wave. Thousands of ships. Black metal, shaped like nothing humans had ever seen. Silent, cold, alive. Each ship was part machine, part organic, a living weapon. Inside them were thousands of creatures that looked like people's stolen faces, stolen voices. But they were not human. They never had been. From Earth's outer edge to Mars' orbit, warning beacons screamed, defensive satellites lit up, cannons fired, missiles launched. But it wasn't enough. Station after station fell. The Mimics weren't just attacking. They were infecting. Once inside a ship's system, they spread like code. They rewrote AI, they took over cameras, locked hatches, turned machines against their crew. Earth was facing not just a fleet, but a virus, a war of identity. Back on Earth, President Holden stood in the underground command center, his face grim. Status. General Makoa's voice was cold. Venus line is gone. Europa's silence confirmed. Only Titan Command is holding. Holden stared at the glowing map. The red was spreading fast. Begin ashfall, he said. Everyone in the room froze. Ashfall was the final plan. A last resort. Lyra stepped forward. If we trigger that, we burn half our own colonies.
We don't.
Nodded. Better ash than mimic. There was silence. No one argued because they knew he was right at Titan Command. Commander Rhea watched the incoming wave of mimic ships. They looked like black clouds covering the stars. Behind her, a team of engineers worked fast. Setting up the signal speaker weapon based on sound and light, they had reverse engineered it. From what they learned during the station mimic incident, it wouldn't destroy the fleet, but it would reveal every mimic hiding inside. Human systems, ships, bases, even people. It was Earth's only chance. Rhea grabbed the mic. All units hold. Fire until I give the word. When the spike hits, shoot everything that screams. The team activated the device. The countdown began. 60 seconds. The Mimic fleet moved closer. 0.50 seconds. Titan's defenses activated. Cannons turned. Missile pods opened. 40 seconds. Inside Earth, Mimic agents began to twitch. They felt the coming signal. They began to scream. 30 seconds. They tried to run, hide, but the humans were ready. People pulled out guns, red marked. Hands pointed without hesitation. 0.25 seconds. That's not my wife. That's not my commander. That's not my child. They pulled the trigger. Humanity had learned one brutal truth. Kindness could no longer save them. 0.15 seconds. The Mimic Queen signal reached. Earth, it spoke in 1,000 voices. You had peace. You chose war. Holden answered with calm rage. No, we chose to survive. 10 seconds. The Mimic fleet began to fire. 7. Titan shook. 5. IV. 3. Fired. Silence. Silence. For 3 full seconds. There was no sound, then dash screams. From ships, from machines, from deep inside servers and implants. Mimics. Burned in place, their stolen skin cracked, their fake voices shattered. Across the solar system, humans struck back. Ships roared, missiles flew, and from Earth's secret vaults, something ancient and forbidden launched into the stars. Project M, Mare. It wasn't a ship. It was a piece of the moon hollowed out, packed with antimatter, guided by AI. A single, unstoppable bullet aimed at the Mimic Queen's ship. No escape, no condemned, surrender, just death. The Queen tried to run, but humans had learned from her. They predicted her path, Hammerfall. Her flagship with the force of a small star. Light swallowed everything. The Mimic fleet shattered. Some ships tried to run, some escaped, but the Queen's scream echoed through space like a dying storm. And then, silence. Real silence. The kind Earth hadn't heard in months on Titan. Rhea fell to her knees. It was over. Not one, not truly, but survived Earth, buried its dead, repaired its skies, and built stronger defenses. But something had changed forever. Humans no longer trusted smiles, no longer believed in peace without proof. Children were taught to check for shadow, movement, to listen for strange whispers in the vents, to ask questions even if the answers hurt, and yet they also remembered this, that in the darkest hour, when no one else could be trusted, humanity stood together, not because they were perfect, not because they were kind, but because they refused to die. The stars still waited, the silence wouldn't last, but next time, Earth wouldn't wait for peace. They would strike first, because now the galaxy knew you may copy the face of a human, but you will never carry their fire.